listening to episode 205 of the SBP Podcast Mobile Filmmaking, and I'm your host, Susy Botello.
We are Fade into Film.
Hey, everybody, we are back. Fade into Film. Do I sound like one of those midnight DJs, Joey?
All right, like, welcome to the midnight storm, whatever it's called. Like
yeah. Hey, it's actually the night before Halloween. Do you remember what we were doing on Halloween last year?
Last year? I didn't.
Yeah, last year. Yeah, come on. Last year we recorded the Halloween episode that came out on Halloween, and with Jason and Levi and Ryan.
Oh my gosh, good thing you reminded me. I have to hit up Jason for hopefully something that I could. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. That's all I'm saying. I guess I just have to hit him up.
Jason, if you're listening, Jason, proper name considering Halloween, right? The film. Yeah. I was about to do sound effects, but I thought I'd spare our listeners, our friends, from my sound effects.
Wait, you're just going to go.
Yeah, I was going to go. Yeah. I was going to do that thing that I just did, but I'm not going to do it. And then I did it.
I used to live in a town called Voorhees. So
that's
it's not obviously it's not
creepy.
the same, but
sure, that's what you all say.
well, because like his name is Jason Voorhees. He didn't live in Voorhees.
But I mean, maybe he was named because his family. I mean, I don't know. Oh gosh. Well, anyways, guys, it's already past Halloween. Actually, this episode is coming out on November 5th, Tuesday.
Hey.
So during elections. That same morning. So anyways, hey, everyone and Joey, we have a really cool topic to talk about, and I'm not sure if this is going to be the title, but maybe an indie filmmaker's dream. And what I wanted to ask you, Joey, because you're an indie filmmaker, what's your dream as a filmmaker?
Oh man, we're just going right into it.
We're just diving right in.
I think I had different. My dream as an indie filmmaker of making movies, right? I guess.
Like for example, there's. So this is what I kind of want to cover. Let me do a little quick rundown for everyone. So, let me grab my tea. So basically, I wanted to discuss the dream for the filmmakers, right? What is the dream for almost all indie filmmakers? Now, obviously, it's not going to be the same thing for everybody because, we're all different in some way or another. But we're gonna see if we can touch on some things that apply to most of everyone who's listening. All the indie filmmakers. And that is, first of all, is it the pre-production phase? Do you dream about, okay, I really love the pre-production phase. And I think the pre-production phase is what is going to realize this is the thing I wish for in pre-production. The same with production and post-production. Or is it really all about the distribution, right? In the end, is that really the dream for you?
Oh, that's well, I think, okay. So if I were to speak in a more metaphysical thing, right? Or
Okay,
I guess just
I love that.
I think being able to, as an indie filmmaker, be able to tell my own stories,
Yes.
the ones that are close to me, and the way that I see them, the way that I could tell them, and the special way that I'm the only one that could really tell those stories. I think that's the dream, right? Being able to feed my soul, I guess, right? And obviously, it would be really nice if I was able to, survive on just my movies alone, right?
Yeah.
Like in a weird way, it's kind of like the whole Adam Sandler thing. I would love to just have, well, I mean, while I do have a company where I could make movies with my friends and whatnot, I really wish and dream that one day that there will be fans of us that appreciate that we do. I'm not trying to become incredibly rich or anything like that. I want to be able to, just support myself and be able to continue making this art and having people enjoy.
Success wears different faces. Basically.
Yes, exactly. So, right. So if we were, that's the dream, right? So that's obviously the metaphysical part, right? But realistically, obviously, I guess what we're talking about, it's like, I would love it that if the dream is to find I'm not even sure if getting the money at the end, like recouping my losses, or I don't know, magically finding an angel investor to fund our movies. I don't know which one would be better for me right now, like thinking about it.
Yeah. So first of all, okay. So if we go through these production phases before we even talk about funding or anything, right? Mm-hmm. In the pre-production, right? There are filmmakers that I've talked to, and they get stuck in the pre-production and they can't get out of it because it's their dream to have these particular actors and this particular crew, this particular, you're assembling everything at that point. Mm-hmm. You're putting things together. Of course, you've got your screenplay. I'm already imagining you've got your screenplay. And there's phases within that. You write a treatment of how and even if you don't write a treatment, you're thinking about it, right? How are you going to treat this film? Where is it going to go, right? And so you start putting those things together. None of these things are like separated hard in stone. They're all connected, and one phase leads to the next, and everything is connected. But let's just say you're going through pre-production and you're thinking, okay, I want to get these locations. It would be so awesome. Because I know filmmakers that have been inspired by locations. They've actually gone to places and said, oh my God, I want to make a movie here. You know what I'm saying? And it's inspired even the story, right?
Yes.
And so it's like that whole part of pre-production could be, and then everything just sort of for them, right? For this particular indie filmmaker, maybe that's you listening right now. Maybe that's you, Joey, that you're going through this whole, oh my God, I want to make a movie here. This is a great opportunity. I can already think of the story. I can whip out a screenplay on this and just, write the screenplay, and in a month I come back here. Can I, confirm this location? And then everything else just kind of falls into place because of this part right here, this location. And I know I can get these actors, and if I can show them where we're going to shoot it, who knows, right? I'm carrying on, but that could be it. Or it could be during the production, I got these actors, I got this crew, I've got the location, I've got this beautiful, wonderful gear that, Jim is bringing this gear, and it's great gear. Oh my God, he's got the best lights, and my cinematographer is, so-and-so, and she's like a whiz behind the camera, that kind of a thing. And that really, and then after that, you're thinking, well, I've got the production, I filmed it and everything. That's the most important part. And then post-production, editing, that all falls into place because I've got this great footage, this great performances, and
right.
And then, at the very end, of this whole thing, which falls into post, sometimes for some people, it's all about the distribution. It really is. It's about like, okay, then this is going to end up on Netflix, So it's almost like what's the engine that carries you through all this?
I mean, well, I know for other, let me see. I don't think there was ever a time with myself that I was too much of a dreamer that I wanted to create a script that's like, oh yeah, this is the perfect script, and I just need the perfect people and the perfect locations and perfect everything. Because like, I think very much early on, I already knew that when I started really taking things seriously is that I'm a nobody and I don't have anybody that can help me with money or resource or connections or whatever. So I think getting something done was much more enjoyable and much more fun to me rather than, dreaming about like, oh, this would be perfect for, I don't know, some celebrity or something, you know what I mean? And then trying to
Do you not
market.
think sometimes that the dream is what gives you the energy and inspires you to create something awesome, though? I mean,
no,
maybe
of
for
course.
you,
I mean,
maybe for some people. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think with, especially in this type of art where it's heavily visual, that we do see some sort of final vision in our heads way before it becomes a reality, right? And
Right.
I think everything that we're doing is trying to get as close to that vision as possible. And sometimes the vision isn't as clear in our heads, but we know the process and we kind of put it together and see, how the picture turns out to be, I guess. But
I think that sounds safe and healthy in a way too, though, Joey, because I also know there are some filmmakers that have this vision and they'll knock everybody into like a hole, just trying to make that very detailed and very specific, and it's got to be just like this. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
And I think what you just described is a little more open-minded in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that maybe they're very vivid or maybe they're very exact in the way that they do their art or their filmmaking or whatever, and they know exactly what they're seeing in their heads, right? And I think that's a good way. That's a good thing too, because you definitely do have a direction. So it would help people in your production, your crew, to be able to see what you're trying to go for, early on. But that's also kind of like the limiting factor because you already put the limits on, and maybe it's not as easy to have a collaboration with the people around you.
Yep.
With the talent or maybe your DP or whatever, or depending how big your crew is, right? Most likely it's going to be your actors. If like you're saying that, oh, you have to say the specific line this specific way, in this specific temp, so it would,
Right.
you wouldn't give then everyone and everything is just a tool. And while that may be also good, what if, the director is a complete auteur, like he's just, and they're like genius in their own right? Sure, right? But
Yeah. Because also it's the communication between the director and the actors. I mean, it really does have to be good enough to present that vision so that they can perform it.
yes.
And sometimes, yeah, they accomplish wonderful things, but it's almost like, it's like pulling teeth, right? Getting through it so that they can accomplish it. And it could be frustrating for the actors, but at the same time, in the end, the actors go, oh my God, what they pulled from me that I didn't realize until they pulled it,
Right. And I think that's also either maybe a mismatch of skill level between, the actors to the director or vice versa. Or like, but then again, I've seen that when the actors are just as inspired as the director or something, and then when they work well together, it's a pretty beautiful thing watching like a production work that way too.
Yeah. And usually that's also why spending time with the actors, doing the blocking and things like that before production is also helpful for communication, because they know, like just recording this podcast, right? I always talk to a new guest, someone that I haven't met before, a little bit before, we start recording, like I did with you and Stephanie. We talk for a little bit, kind of gauge each other and know how, it's really something fluid and natural that happens, but it's kind of necessary if you're going to present something, right, through communication in some way. Then it's good to, kind of get to know that person and how they communicate first.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's really how it is, right? So, but yeah, like, and I guess certain productions work differently, whether it's like a full collaboration or like the director really takes the helm on everything. They want to cook their vision specifically how they want it. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's one trait that almost all directors end up having to have, which can make or break them, and that is a little bit of being stubborn.
Oh yeah, of course. That's I'm
being kind, but yeah.
Yeah, like sometimes you kind of have to be still.
Yeah.
But like in the end, I think a director also has to know how to lead the crew.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've also noticed that if the direction is not really there, then everyone kind of just veers off and they kind of put their, like too many cooks in the kitchen type of thing, and they're giving their 2 cents, but it doesn't add, like, it's different currencies. Yeah, I guess, it doesn't really go towards a particular thing. And a lot of, like first time directors, they want to appease their crew, usually. And then their project is just like, what's happening? Like,
do you
there's
feel
no
it comes down to
structure.
trust, though, really, like on both ends, like the crew trusts the director, and then at the same time, the director trusts their crew.
Because, like, I think building up an experience, right? Because, like, if a director and a crew, like, they work together all the time, then they know how to work with each other, right? But at the same time, once, like, say those crews are working on the production, that director is being hired out or, like, working on other productions, I think they would have, I hope, the, like, what do you call it? The confidence to actually say what their vision is or what works or what I've seen, but also at the same time be able to work with other people. And especially with my group, I mean, I think I guess we've been working kind of in and out professionally, but like, I guess much more recently in the past like 3 years. And I really had to learn how to be be a unit person, right? Like, I'm not doing my own thing all the time. It's not my ideas. It's not my script. It's not my vision. But so I had to learn how to listen to director or the higher, other people in other departments, that give their ideas and be able to interpret it and help them achieve that vision rather than just forcing my own.
Right.
And I've seen other directors that can't, or other people, that can't do that when they shift over to somebody else's project. And, that's what kills a lot of, productions too,
Yeah, that kind of sucks, though.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I mean, because there's so much investment by so many people, that when that falls through and they keep going and then they get to the end and get to post and it never gets, those are the kinds of films that never end up going anywhere.
And yeah, like, and that happens a lot in indies, right?
Yeah.
And I mean indies, like, not just
that happens even in Hollywood, actually.
Oh yeah, of course. I think I did a couple of projects that they're like in a black hole right now, so I don't know what's happening in it. As long as I got paid, I mean, I'm like, hey, I'm I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I was really,
I know exactly what you're talking about, because that's kind of the films that I've worked on where I've been paid. And it's kind of like you're just going, well, it's in your hands now. It's up to you. I've done my part. I did my best, and I had a great time. We all, pulled in together, and now it's up to you guys. That's also the thing about, not to veer off of this, but the one thing about, in pre-productions, there are people that are involved in that you don't see them in production, obviously. Mm-hmm. But then the production crew, that to me it's always been the heart of filmmaking, because that's where the magic happens. That the substance of the film, the creation of filmmaking itself, and then people hug and they go away, and 90% of those people never see each other again, as far as like in that production, in that film. Because then it goes into post, and then it's, the editor, sometimes they have to do retakes or whatever. But for the most part, that's it. It's really interesting.
Right. I mean, I guess I guess that makes sense, right? If like different parts of the production, right? So that makes sense.
So, okay. So let's talk about this now. As the dream, I know that for a lot of indie filmmakers, it's really the dream is about the distribution. They want to see their film in Hollywood screens, and they want to see, their film streamed, maybe Netflix or the top streaming platforms and things like that. And for them, that's where, they get the reach, where they get to show it to people. That's where the fruit of the labor, is that the correct term? I can't remember.
Yeah. Right? The fruits of the labor. Yes, I agree.
So what do you think about that? No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I guess it's also, I don't know how it was during, I don't know, pre-streaming. I might have worked in it, but like, I don't know like what the goal was for pre-streaming era of filmmaking, because now there's like a lot of places, a lot of platforms for you to be able to show your films.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what you said, like the success of what the filmmaker thinks is a success, right? There's many, like I said, before, when Amazon didn't really have a quality check and you could just upload your film and they'll sell it and whatever. And I guess some people, that's really cool to say, hey, my movie's up here.
Yeah.
But then again, there's YouTube and there's amazing filmmakers that put their stuff up on YouTube that most people don't know about, but like, and they make
and Vimeo
films.
Vimeo also
right?
has, their pay-per-view and their OTT and all that stuff.
Right, exactly.
Which is very, very you just have to pay for the subscription for it, for Vimeo, so that you have that capability, and then it's up to you to just kind of do it. It's self-publishing, really. Self-distribution.
Yeah. I think, so it really depends, right? So I'm not really sure how to.
Well, and then there's another way. There's another thing. Kind of like what happened with, the Blair Witch Project, right? Where they made their film. They showed it at a film festival. And at the film festival where they screened it, where they said, oh, by the way, this didn't really happen. That's when, I forgot the name of the studio that purchased their film. So it's like, okay, then next thing you know, you have like a Hollywood studio that buys your film. And they distribute it. And then it goes into theaters, right? And that's the hardest thing to get to in the United States. In other countries, it's a little easier to get, a theater run for your film. But in the United States, it's pretty much, they're bought basically with the Hollywood studios. Indie filmmakers, you can have particular theaters, show your film. But to have a full theatrical run through the country, that really, the people who own that are the Hollywood studios. So that's another part of distribution that's like the ultimate, right? That say, like 28 years later, you know what I mean? Sony is distributing that film, and I imagine it's going to be in the theaters, but who knows? It might not. Columbia Pictures also bought into it and funded it. So it's hard to tell, but I think for some of the filmmakers who have that dream, it's about that. Like, I'm going to go through all these stages. I'm going to create this wonderful, awesome film. And then it's going to go to a Hollywood studio. And now, if you're an indie filmmaker, Joey, let's say this is you and this is your dream. I would say, Joey, my God, that you're putting so much stress on yourself if that's your dream as an indie filmmaker. Unless it's the second part of this whole topic that I wanted to discuss. Funding. Is it really about funding? Because if you're getting that funding, then all these things are a little rosier, so to speak.
Well, obviously money, funding is a very, very important resource, because it's like the best resource that you could have, because that money and funding could turn into whatever resource that you need it to be, right?
And I'm talking about hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. Like, go for the gusto. As far as if you're gonna have a dream to have really good funding, right? Then go all the way, right? What do you think?
I mean, I guess that's kind of like the dream too, right?
Right.
Just being given like a blank check, be like, hey, dude, here is a lot of money to make here.
What would that be for you if somebody was to say that? Let's just pretend you have that dream of really big funding for your particular film that you want to make, and somebody says, Joey, I've seen some of your work. You got it in you, and I'm going to give you blank check. It's never a blank check, but let's say, what would the amount be for you, Joey?
Oh my gosh. I mean, well,
it's a tough question, I know,
yeah,
but
I mean,
just put
like,
a number on it.
Obviously, I'm gonna $1 billion or something, like something silly like that, right? But obviously, it wouldn't.
But you wouldn't say that to somebody who's holding a check. You wouldn't say,
No,
just give me $1 billion. Right.
I mean, obviously, like, so what is it? Like, I mean, Marvel movies cost like what, $500 million to make, right? But then again, I don't think.
Film?
Sorry,
is that the kind of film that you want to make? Though?
No, I don't think. Like realistically, if that was possible right now, I'd still be doing like.
Would you say 2 million? I worked on $1 million film, and it was completely indie, and it's nothing. Okay.
Yeah, 2 million. Okay, $2 million is literally nothing. Like in terms of like. So that's the thing too. Actually, that's a funny question. It's like depending on what people think. A lot of the film goers now, I think they have a different expectation when it comes to movies now, right? Yep. I think that we oftentimes don't see like small town movies anymore. And if it is, it's purely like an indie film, right? But back then, during the 90s, during the early 2000s, like we had movies like that, right? But now everything feels like a blockbuster all the time, every time. Right. And that's like 100 million. Right. But I don't think. But for me, if I could have the money to make my movies, I feel like I could. If somebody gave me like, hey, here's like $10 million.
Yeah.
I think I would be able to do a proper action film that feels like, like during the times of like, I don't know, maybe early 2000s, and it would feel good. Like, and it's not anything, I guess what I'm saying too is like, a lot of practical effects. I'm not doing any green screen, nothing, no special effects like that. Something just reminiscent of old martial art action comedies kind of thing, Yeah,
I think also the technology has changed a lot. What used to cost more. I have a friend who worked for Sony with video games, and he was an artist. And he said once they figure out how to do something, I think it was like Monsters, Inc. he was telling me about, the hair on the monster, right? Each individual strand just sort of flowing, and while the animation, the creature is moving around and stuff. I remember he was telling me, he says, once they got that figured out, it becomes like a plug-in for and now all the other animations after that, because that was a very unique first-time thing. And so all the other animations after that, they just hit that plug-in and they don't have to individually create that anymore. It's like an effect. So that becomes cheaper, because now instead of someone spending 1,000 hours, right, creating that, the next one comes along and says, okay, it's only going to take an hour. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that happens also in the film industry with a lot of special effects and, all the other, even cinematic and color grading and things like that. There are things that become a little easier on the technical side, and that means also that the cost goes down, which you can add to other things.
Right. I mean, yeah, definitely. I think it's because of that. Maybe like a lot of like the lower end assets are easy. I mean, the fact alone that we could film on digital now, right? Like, and anybody could really anyone could pick up a phone and make a movie, right? So I think that the ability to be able to make a film is much more accessible, but it still takes skill, to learn how to tell a story, how to piece that together, and all of the other hats that you need to wear in a production to make a film, period. Right.
Yeah. And I also look at the human factor, the artists we were just talking about Jason. By the way, we're talking about Jason Rivera, just so that everybody knows. Go hop on him, but wait for Joey to reach him first. Don't schedule him. No, no, but he's a composer and he's experienced. He's talented. He's very devoted and passionate. He's got, as a human being, right? Those are the people that you want to also invest in, as opposed to a plugin that's going to generate a song or something like that. You know what I'm saying? There's something about that it's going to still cost you, right? Saving here allows you to spend more there with the same amount of funding that you get. So if you have a $30-40 million funding, right? And you're going, well, back in the year 2000, I would have spent $3 million on just getting this part done. But now I can take those $3 million or two of those $3 million and spend it on the music and audio effects and things like that, right? Instead.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm thinking about what you said. If I had I think if I had $5 million right now, I could probably make the movie that I really would like to make right now.
There you go. Should we just ask people to go
but wait
ahead?
a minute. But wait a minute, because I'm really thinking about it too. Because I think me saying something like, "Oh yeah, $5 million," I think it's because also after experiencing and learning, things that I've doing my own stuff, plus also working, quote unquote Hollywood, right? Whatever, professional sets and whatever. I think I understand how certain things cost, like specifically for me, because there are some resources that would be outside of my networking potential or outside my network that I would have to reach out. And the only thing I can offer is money.
Yeah.
But,
you've also acquired some more resources that you had 3 years ago, say, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The first feature film I made, I was 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just me and my friends, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, I wrote this film and
never forget that, Joey.
Oh yeah, of course. And, it's a full feature film, right? And it's terrible. It's terrible. It's mechanically terrible. Just face it. Everything about it is terrible. But I look back fondly on it, right? And the fact that I was able to, I didn't really have a script either. Which is kind of weird. The weird part is because I knew what the whole story is. And a lot of the things on the days that we would shoot, and it didn't take us long either, probably 3 months or whatnot, because I really obsessed with it, right? And that probably, I don't know, maybe under $500, I guess, in total of everything, of asking people to help me out. I didn't pay anybody, and I just cooked food for people, but everybody helped me out, and some people drove and whatever. And I had friends that we were doing already martial arts action films kind of thing. And the fact that when I was able to put together a story that kind of held together all of those set pieces and whatnot, and I have actors and and my friends were my actors. There's one girl that I was kind of dating. It was, right? And she was the lead romantic.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Anyways, right? But the fact that I was able to do that, and I remember showing it the first time to I guess a very small indie filmmaking group back then online, and this is in the advent of digital filmmaking, and even I remember
YouTube and all that stuff, right?
This is way before YouTube. This is so I would be uploading my film on this website. You would use BitTorrent to download. It's called my5minutes.com. And so it was a BitTorrent site, and people would just download, and the fact that when these people and the people that watch this film, they're some of the fight choreographers, fight coordinators, second unit directors now in Hollywood, right? When we were all young, and they saw it, and some of them were oh my God, that's really the fact oh, you're the first one to make a feature. And I mean, obviously it's bad, but at that point in time, all of us were still bad, and that was just, we kind of celebrated everybody's accomplishments.
Yeah.
And I was very proud of that, and that's when I realized I really love making films, right? And I think there is a future there. So, and that was nothing. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that, that was like, I don't know, like I said, like less than I don't even know, right? Maybe less than $500 or something. But now I'm talking about like 5 million. So I think it does.
But now you have your vision now compared to before has more, I don't know, data, right? More knowledge, more experience, more, what can be done. What you can do,
Yeah, because it's kind of like you can't see the future past decisions that you have not made, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would never. I mean, I'm sure back then I'll be like, yeah, if I had like $10 million, I could make a movie. Like I wouldn't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But now the fact that I'm able to say it, because clearly I think I have a tangible idea of what my skill set is, or the people that I know.
So knowing you, Joey, if you're saying 5 million, I would say it's at least 8 million, because you tend to underrate yourself a little bit. And I would say that you should go even higher, because I do that myself sometimes, and I know I gotta, I have to shoot higher.
Unless you're saying something like, hey, I know somebody will give you $8 million.
Well, let me put it to you this way. You never know who's listening, for one. And you never know, like before, you don't know when people watch your work, you don't know what they're thinking, what comes out of it. Look what happened with Michael J. White, right?
Right. I mean, that's always a trip, like him finding us out of nowhere. I think that's a. But
it wasn't out of nowhere. You had to put something out there.
Yes. I think obviously, us putting stuff out in YouTube or whatever. I mean, eventually you have to take chances on yourself. Ultimately, I guess what we're saying is that, hey, like you might not find an angel investor now, but you have to be your own investor, right? And it doesn't matter how bad your project is. It's like the more that you do it, the more you get better, right? It's just a skill set like anything else in the world, right? And I'm trying to tell people, dude, like I don't even think my stuff is anywhere worth, the work that I'm getting, right? But people see the worth in it, and they find like that it's good, and I strive to be better than I was yesterday, So it's all we can do.
Well, when
right?
people believe in you, I did this where like someone would say, "Oh, Susy, would you be the cinematographer?" I was like, "Oh my God, no. Are you kidding me? I'm not there." And Susy, would you be the script supervisor for this feature film? And I was like, oh my God. And there was that time where I first was asked that I actually said, you know what? They believe in me, but I don't see myself through their eyes. But they know what I can do, and I'm just going to trust that person's belief and their confidence in me and just go for it. And I did all right. I actually got another job after that because they loved how good I did it. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to kind of, like when people, especially in the industry, people, not your mom or your uncle or your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever, right? But people in the industry say, I want to pay you to do this. Don't turn it down. Trust that they know, because they're going to pay you. And they're going to hire you.
And if you failed, then who cares? You failed, right? That doesn't mean that that's who you are.
You learn something.
Yeah, you
never really fail,
And I think that's the one thing too. I know that. Well, I definitely in the arts industry as well, right? Like, especially here in the entertainment one, there's some people that are so very much afraid of failure.
Yes.
That they cannot get out of the pre-production phase because it feels good to like, oh my God, my movies like would be awesome, my movie would be amazing, but they would never take any steps of actually making it because it feels good to know that, because like you don't know if it's gonna fail, but the idea is that I mean if it stays,
it's the expectation.
Yeah
If you set your expectation.
If it stays an idea, then no one can tell you that it's bad, because you could tell them, right? And everybody has their own expectation, their own head, and be like, yeah, that sounds amazing. But then, if you don't have the skill set to make it happen, then,
That's the other part why I love films, because you're the one that decides what people are going to see in their heads when they watch it.
Yeah.
So now here's another the third phase of this topic that I wanted to go into.
Yeah.
And that is, does the outcome predetermine the potential for your next film? Regarding
should.
crew, the crew that you build, the crew, how well they work together. We were talking about actors, how the quality of the actors that you now have access to, but basically better everything. And, let's talk about that before, I talk about your power, because I do want to bring that up too. But let's talk about that. Like, does that, well, maybe we should include it. Let me go back to that. Finding your power, right? Through the production that you make, the film that you make, whether you feel like you've succeeded with it or not. But if you feel some sort of success with it regarding, it may not have been my ultimate dream, but I feel like it succeeded in this way. I finished it. It did get some distribution. It won awards, whatever that may be. Does that really mean that now you can make a better film because of that? And did you also, through that whole process that I was just mentioning, the better everything, find your power, your unique power in filmmaking? Because like directors, cinematographers, everybody finds their own kind of a self niche, I suppose, right? And the genre. Oh my God, I just realized I'm a great horror filmmaker. Or Joey, for you, I'm a great romantic comedy action filmmaker or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think, I don't think you'd ever know that until you actually
Have
do
made
a
films
couple. Yeah, right.
that felt successful in some way.
Yeah, because like same thing with Steph, right? I mean, she became part of my team as an actress, right? And now she's like, she loves being my DP. I mean, she loves that's her, like she picked up this talent, right? And now before we're making like, little YouTube sketches, and now she's like,
so
my
she's behind the camera now? Because I know we spoke about this in an earlier episode. I don't remember when, but you said, I would ask Stephanie to maybe be the DP for one of my films.
I mean, she already is. I mean, the fact alone, she's already, she has been a professional second unit for, I guess, the past 2 years now. Like she's done actual Hollywood films with me.
Congratulations, right? Stephanie.
So it's not like, and she, like from doing YouTube sketches to like, here's like, 20 people under you. Right. Yeah. Tell them what to do. And then she's like, we're going to do and she just like runs, runs the set when she needs to. So it's possible. And I think it's only because that we've done it so much that we developed our own particular things that we enjoy during production. Right. Yeah. And that, so yeah, like now, like because of her, I'm able to become more of a director, and now she handles more of the mechanicals. Now, I'm still very much hands-on with our stuff, right? And she can translate what I'm saying, like, so it better, she's able to execute my vision, right?
Gotcha.
So that's the thing too, right? So and that's because it's a team, right?
Yeah.
So, but obviously when people hire stuff out, it's usually for acting or whatnot.
So would you say the dream is partially like, okay, I have this dream for this movie, but then when it's all said and done, it's the ultimate dream to basically that first dream, that first film, whatever success you have with that is a stepping stone for a better, because not all directors always make a better film after their first one, but the potential is there, right?
Yeah, I think you learn something from every film. And I think it's also like, kind of a pitfall when somebody finds like a niche. Sorry, not a niche, but like
a strength in a way.
And like, I don't know how to, I think it's for filmmaking specifically. I remember there was this, I think I remember reading the story. This one kid, he made a YouTube video a long time ago about how he it was kind of like it's kind of like a recorded phenomenon or something. It's like there's this like a set of stairs in their school that if it somehow like it links the bottom of the stairs links to the top of the stairs, and it's like an infinite kind of thing, right? And he
Yeah.
made a YouTube video. It was like 2 minutes long, right?
Yeah.
And he had a bunch of
I know
twins.
you mentioned it before, but I'm letting you go on because not all our listeners listened to that one. So
Oh yeah, I know I said it before. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was like a long time ago when I said it, right? But yeah, it might have been like a year ago during the holiday.
it may have been next week. No, I'm just kidding.
But
No,
yeah, so
but go
there's
ahead.
yeah, so there's this like a filmmaker did that, and there was a bunch of twins at his university, and he asked them to be part of it, and they would, one twin would go down and the other twin would come back from the top, right? And I'm pretty sure it went viral on YouTube, and then he dedicated, I don't know, like a bunch of like the rest of his life from then to try to get a movie made around this
That
fucking
would go that viral.
that's there, right?
Yeah.
And that's all he did. I've never seen any other work that he did. And it wasn't even like filmed like a film. It was like filmed like a YouTube sketch or, like YouTube quality, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say too is sometimes,
Like an experimental type video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that, sometimes that, especially in this industry, you might learn something and you might get big from it because you have a really good idea. But then, it's like the pressure of doing something like that all the time, every time, forever, especially you're on YouTube.
Oh my God.
It's real. The pressure is real because like, oh, if I do something else, people won't like my shit.
We'll talk about the pressure that the youngest musicians have, when they hit the big time, right? Where now it's like every other album has to be the pressure from their agent is like, your next album must be bigger. It's like,
Right.
oh my God.
Like
how
yeah,
do I
you
do
can't
that?
like you can't do anything different. It has to be like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's like the same thing with the band called Panic at the Disco or something. When
Yeah.
the band split up because half of the band wanted to, do something more creative, while now the Panic at the Disco guy, I mean, he's rich and famous and whatever. He kept on doing that same very theatrical style that he does. That it's pop, right? And people love it, and he's very successful. And I don't know what happened to the other band, but then again, that's probably something that they didn't want. I don't know, right? But so the pressure of continue. That's what I'm saying. I think I remember saying it on the show a lot. Is that I am jealous of the artists and the creators that do something that fits the mainstream that everybody loves, and that's their highest form of their art that they want to do. Not only are they being fed like by validation and their soul is filled, at the same time they're getting money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. As long as they love to continue to do that. But if you hit that by accident, and that's a very huge possibility when it comes to art, right? I mean, you edit a lot of videos. And I know I've done a lot of editing in my time too. And I know that there were things that people would go, oh my God, that's just so awesome how that did that specifically right there. And it just sort of fit. And I was like, yeah, that was like pure accident. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? But people are like, oh my God, that was so great how you did that. And you're going, yeah, literally, that was an accident. The clip was actually this long and this happened right at the same, it just sort of fit. But imagine that you hit that accidentally and now you're expected to do it over and over again. But if you love what you do and you didn't do it, or even if you did do it accidentally, but if you love what you do, and that's always my message for all the artists out there. And one of the reasons in all the indie filmmakers that if you love what you do, you're fulfilling your dream by doing it. It's not really, and that's where I want to take this conversation to, back to the beginning, the dream for the indie filmmaker, which has brought you through this whole journey to bring you back to the beginning and say, really, what it comes down to, right, Joey, is that you fulfill your need to create, and now you're fulfilling your dream by creating and doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only that's really like the only solution, right? If you want to,
Yeah.
I know that a lot of, if we're talking about burnouts and whatnot, I mean, I've been doing this for 20
Half your
odd some
life.
years. Yeah, like half my life. And I've been doing this when I wasn't making any money.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that I stayed with it means I just really love it, right? And
Yeah.
I don't really know, I can really say if I felt the burnout. I mean, I felt like I need to take a break. I think, we were talking about it like before about how I feel like there's this, I call it like the breakup, like,
Oh, yeah.
after making a project, after making a film, no matter how
Yeah.
small, no matter how big, there's that feeling afterwards of letting go,
Yeah.
right? Like that breakup, and now I have to, move on to a new story or whatever. But so
Like
that's
that
kind of
song with
weird.
by the Doors. This is the end.
But yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, I love this life. Like I mean, there are very high highs and very low lows. But
I think it's about living your dream, really. It's not one thing. It's about, especially for filmmakers and for artists, you know what I'm saying? And it's non-ending. I have this saying about, storytelling. There is no end to any story unless the storyteller calls it the end or someone perceives that to be the end. But the stories keep going forever and ever and ever, even beyond our own existence. And so for a filmmaker or an artist or whatever, it's always about creating. And for someone who feels passionate and really loves what they're doing, like you, there is no end. The dream is almost like to be able to keep going and to keep doing that. I wouldn't say it's almost. I mean, that for most of the indie filmmakers I've ever met, they're not really about getting rich. They may dream about that in some way, but in reality, their whole purpose is about being able to keep going and to keep doing it.
Yes, I agree.
And so with that, is there anything that you think we missed that we should, I mean, I can't
I feel like this
think
is
of anything.
I feel like this is the point where you should leave off with something very inspirational, since we're talking about dreams, right?
Yeah. Dream a little dream. No, I'm definitely not going to sing. Well, I will say
don't
this.
dream a little dream. Dream big, guys.
Dream big. Yeah. Don't underestimate yourselves. The potential of what you can do, it's up to you, because you just need to get started doing these things before you even find out what your own personal potential is within this. And then you'll realize that there really is no end in sight. Like there is no limit to what you can or cannot do. It's all your perspective. And feel that confidence. Feel confident that you can do anything. Because once you have the experience, you know what your little limitations are. And they're little compared to the big things that you can accomplish. If you make a film and you get through the whole face of it and you've completed it, you've already succeeded. And you got to think about the journey that it took to get you there, because that's part of the success. I don't know if that's any inspiration, Joey, but that's my take. Do you have one?
No, that works. That definitely works.
All right. Well, Joey, thanks for being on the show again.
No problem.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and say goodnight to everybody, or goodbye. Goodbye.
Good night and goodbye, everybody.